Go.
Hi everybody here actually knows me, it's Keith Naylor. We're here at Stubbylee Community Greenhouses and we're with the ongoing art group. I'm intending to do a short series of workshops based around cyanotypes, which I'll explain about in a little while. Today is really more about collecting materials ready for that workshop, the main workshop will commence next week. So what I'd just like to do is just explain a little bit about what cyanotype is, but I'll talk more about that next week, and what I'd like people to get involved with today in terms of collecting materials ready for that next workshop next week. So hopefully it'll be half an hour, maybe wander around the site collecting materials. Okay, just to start with, what cyanotype is, it's easiest to show it by, these are a couple that I did as test runs just last week from there. It's basically one of the earliest forms of photography, or in terms of photography printing, that is. So the first photography, you get black and white, they'd be familiar with sepia, etc. They were looking at chemicals that reacted with light. And one of these that they came up with it's a mixture. I won't go into the full chemical thing, but it's a chemical that's in two parts that you mix together. You coat a piece of paper with it, so quick, let it dry. You can then place an image against that. You expose that to sunlight or UV light. That will, where the light's gone through, it will fix what you've applied to the paper. When it's not, when you've blocked it out, in this case it's silhouettes, which was one of the very first that they used, it won't fix. So what you do then is actually you wash it out. Basically put it in a bath of water and it washes it out, completely out, and it exposes the white paper behind. They were used, and I won't go too much into that, I'll be repeating myself next week. But some of the earliest ones that were done is back in the early 19th century. It was at a time when people, the scientific community, you had all the botanists and doing classifications, etc. And you might have seen some incredible artwork in some Victorian, plants and species, etc. But that was incredibly laborious. And one of the ideas that they came up with was to get around that, was to be able to identify the plants purely from the silhouette with regards to cyanotypes. And there was a woman, early artist, Anna Atkins, I think her name is. I've got a book which I'll bring down next week. And she started classifying British plants basically. So it was to do with botany and scientific, but they had aesthetic sort of value in their own right. So what I'd like to do is have a go at doing this, but one of the first things that we need is some silhouettes of plants. Luckily we've got lots of plants around here. Ideally, we need to get those as flat as possible, because we need to put that, and I've got frames for everybody. You place that in the frame with the light sensitive paper behind, then you expose that to sunlight or UV light. I've got a UV bed and I've got some UV torches, and that will develop it within that. So you then get a nicely framed print of one of the plants that you've selected. So just this morning, what I'd like to do, unfortunately it rained last night, so it's not ideal for plant pressing because they'll have taken up a lot of moisture during the night. So what I'd purely like to do is to actually collect some. I mean, I've gone around this morning, just within the courtyard, just next door, and selected ones that I think that will change into a silhouette. Now, you've got to sort of bear in mind, it's a silhouette. So a plant may have loads of detail within the leaves and everything, but you're only looking at the outlines. So for example, if you took that's got loads of lovely veins and everything in it, but if you just did that as an outline, you just end up with a white oval. So what you're really looking for, and what Carol's actually I think brought some along, things like that. Ferns are particularly good. One, they're already pretty flat, because remember we've got to be able to get it in between the frame. Or ones with, which is that one I did, I think it's Molly. where it's quite fragile, but there's a lot of detail in it, and that will still squash down. You don't want something dead woody, because, as I say, you've got to get it between the frames. So what I'd like you to do this morning, first of all, is go out with a pair of secateurs and collect some of these, and we'll just lay them out on this table. I'll clear it, just let them dry overnight, and then I'll press them ready for next week for when we actually start doing the actual printing. Does that make sense? Yeah? Is that okay, everybody?
Yeah.
That's great then, thank you. So, right, if everybody wants to grab